So another aspect of business credit is it reduces the personal liability.
Yes.
So when you have everything in your personal name, then you're personally liable for those debts or that line of credit, that loan. But when you are able to establish business credit, it actually puts the liability on the business itself, and thereby it also frees you up personally to have more leverage to do certain things that you want to do personally.
Yes.
Because if everything is on your personal credit and on the personal side, that's also limiting your ability to do certain things that you want to do personally.
That is a fact.
So business credit is definitely something that all businesses should ultimately establish. And I think there's also a myth that sometimes as business owners or entrepreneurs, we kind of fail to understand, and it's that if I'm in business for a certain duration of time or a certain length of time, that as long as I'm paying my taxes and as long as I have revenue coming in and as long as I continue to keep doing business, that my business credit is actually building, and that's completely false. So because there's a strategic process and there's strategic steps that have to be taken and implemented in order to establish and in order to build your business credit. So just because you're an established business for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, does that mean that you're ultimately building your business credit?
No, not at all.
So when it comes to diversification within a business and knowing, I guess, how or when to also consider establishing additional revenue and income streams,
Mm-hmm.
what are your thoughts on that?
It's a need. You can't have all your eggs in one basket. Like for instance, we were helping several individuals with mental health challenges, substance abuse, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And literally for 2 years, we were receiving calls. Hey, do you guys have any shelter for this individual?
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys have any home placement for this person? And as much as I tried to avoid it, I was like, you know what? It's a need. It's a need.
Mm-hmm.
So let me go and jump up on it. So, and with that need came something else, a different form of revenue. But you have to have several streams of revenue throughout your business.
Mm.
You can't just rely on one factor because sometimes that factor can shut down, and then next thing you know, you're dry. So diversification is a must. Anything diversified is very healthy. You look at companies that are extremely diverse. You look at the church home, that's extremely diverse.
Mm-hmm.
Businesses are friendships in general.
Mm-hmm.
It's all healthy for you because it's an opportunity to grow. So.
Wow. And so when it comes to diversification as well, I think that one thing that's important is knowing, I guess, when and or how to establish those income or those additional revenue streams. And I think that strategic planning also plays a part in that. And so what strategic planning is basically, as a business owner, I think it's important that you take time to really not just work in the business. So working in the business means that basically, I'm doing the day-to-day, and so I'm working in the business. I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do this. But it's important that you take time to work on the business, which means removing yourself from the actual business, every now and then, and reflecting, reviewing, auditing, understanding, the industry, understanding trends, understanding, where things are shifting, where things are moving, understanding my customers' needs. And so one thing that's important as well is that I think we have to continue to keep our ears near where our customers and our clients and our patients are. So having a great, customer satisfaction system is essential as well to know how and when to pivot as well. Even with the current service lines that you are rendering, knowing how to enhance or how to improve them can oftentimes be found in understanding or hearing what the customer and the clients are saying. But if I don't have a system in place where I'm really getting that feedback, then I'm only kind of guesstimating as it relates to how I need to improve or enhance my current service, my current product. So of course we want to make sure that we keep our focus on the main thing that we do, and then as well understanding that we also have to continue to identify different avenues, income sources that ultimately make sense. And so there's a lot of times, there's things that are even within our current field that we can ultimately begin to add as additional services that ultimately complement the main product that we ultimately
most definitely
render.
So I have a question for you.
Okay.
When do you know as a business owner you peak out? Like you just plateau, you didn't hit that ceiling, like boom. When do you know that?
Personally or for the actual business?
Either or, both.
I think that, personally, I think that from my opinion, I'm a person where I think that, I'm always looking to continuously grow, continuously improve. And with that is I'm able to find a challenge within how I can ultimately improve. And so I think that, sometimes from a personal standpoint, I believe that it's a matter of sometimes taking time to rest, reflect, and knowing if it's time to also press reset on something.
Yes.
I think, so that's me, personally. If I feel like I've, plateaued or whatever it may be, then it's just a matter of really resting, reflecting, and resetting, because there's always something that I can ultimately, do, and there's always a need that's ultimately needing to be filled somewhere.
Gotcha.
And so from a business, standpoint or perspective, in terms of, plateauing, I think once again, it kind of goes back to the same principles, because from a business standpoint, I think that it's so important that there has to be, in our strategic planning, there also has to be planning for what is the end game for this business.
Yeah.
What is the end outcome? So as we reach our mission or fulfill our mission, what's as well the transition plan for this business? So whether I'm a part of this transition plan, so once we achieve these goals, hit these measures and metrics, am I a part of the transition plan, or is it time for me to ultimately transition myself out for someone else to come in that I have as well ultimately help to cultivate, to grow, to develop, and position them to then be successful in passing the baton, within this business, to see it reach even higher and further heights than it presently is.
Yes. Okay, that's good. That's great answer. Great response. Great. Very detailed.
Thank you. So, you say that, so that kind of, it brings me to, the essence or the importance of leadership. So what impact or what role does leadership play in a business?
A lot. I mean, it's going to trickle down. It's called the law of attraction. A leader leads by example. And the leader develops everything upon it. He places individuals in place. Management, which the management also leads the caseworkers. Also, the management also, if details the human resource. It's just all of that. It's leadership plays a huge role. Huge role. There are several examples we could give right now where there is some bad leadership. An organization rises and falls based on leadership.
Yeah. That's so important and so true. At the end of the day, one of the things as well, in leadership is kind of going back to that statement is everything rises and falls based upon leadership. So, if the organization is successful, you can attribute it to the leadership.
Yes.
Okay. If an organization is not so successful, you can attribute to the leadership. And the things that we want to ultimately see changed within an organization or a department or a team, it's the responsibility of leadership.
Yes.
So I cannot say, as a leader as well, that the reason why I'm not successful or I'm not reaching these particular heights or points or measures or metrics or milestones that I want to accomplish, I cannot just simply put that on the team or on this individual employee and so on and so forth. Because as the leader, it's my responsibility to solve problems
You're
and
correct.
to identify the correct approach that has to be identified and established to create the outcomes that are necessary for success.
Yes.
So there's a saying or a quote that I recently shared was basically this. Effective leadership is not about being mean or harsh, and it's not about being nice and or liked. Effective leadership is really based upon doing what it takes in the proper manner in order to ensure the desired outcomes and the desired growth.
Yes.
And that's what it's about.
That's true. That is correct.
So leadership is very, very important. And there's one, last, law of leadership before we move on to our next, topic or discussion is the law of the lid. Law of the lid. And so understanding that, as a leader, whatever my vision is for a business or for an organization or for my team, for my department, that I've got to be willing to continue to grow myself and to grow the right people on my team and to identify the right people on our team to be able to turn that vision into reality.
Yes.
And kind of going back to the law of the lid is the fact that wherever you are as a leader, you can only help to raise and to elevate your team somewhere between 80 to 90% of where you are as a leader.
That is the fact.
So if I'm at if I'm a level 3 leader, I can only raise up my team to be basically 2 or 2.5. So I've got to continuously be increasing my bar, my understanding, growing as a leader so that I can be a level 4, level 5, level 6, level 7, level 8, level 9, level 10, so that I can continue as well to help to grow and to cultivate and to breed other leaders.
Yes.
And that's another thing is leadership is not about breeding followers.
That is correct, and I think that's when the confusion comes. Like, well, I'm the leader. I'm supposed to say this is my way or that is. No, man. Leadership also, it requires you being even keeled at times.
Yeah.
Taking some constructive criticism from your staff.
There you go.
Listening to ideas, making the ideas or creating ideas to move into motion. Things like that. So I think that's where it gets misconstrued a lot. It's my way and that's it. No, that's not true. That's not true. That's something that a person learned.
Okay.
Yeah, it took me about 4 years to figure that out.
Okay. Yeah, and I think that that's something that I think we all have to be keen of is the essence of leadership. And leadership it's really about influencing and impacting others.
Yes.
And it's so important. And so sometimes in leadership, especially if you're a new leader or new owner or new entrepreneur, you think it's necessarily all about you all the time, and that's not the case.
Yeah.
It's really as well when you talk about, especially in managing a business and managing a team of people, it's really about the cultivating and the developing of those people that are on your team to help create success for them.
Yes.
Help create success for the organization.
Yes.
And so that's my responsibility, as a leader, is to help help position people to be successful. Now, as a leader, it's our responsibility to create an environment for growth, but it's up to each individual person as it relates to whether or not they're willing to do what it takes in order to be successful and to grow, but it's the leader's responsibility to create the environment for growth.
Yes. Leadership requires humility, being humble. I put my employees in front of me, before me anytime, as we've discussed before. in the past. Like sometimes we've had some question cash flow. You know, I didn't pay myself. I didn't pay myself several times. This was early on, so you know, and had to kind of come out of my account to hit payroll. But you know, I mean, that's what leadership requires: being humble, humility, putting others in front of you, but at the same time, not letting those others take advantage of you now, because that can happen. I see that happen. And that's another topic that I think we're going to hit in a few.
Okay.
Yeah. So
yeah. So that brings up a few good points. One is that when it comes to, so there's a different saying, or there's difference of opinion when it comes to, you talk about putting others before self as a leader or as a business owner, and we talk about experiences that we have ultimately experienced personally, is the fact that cash flow is short. I don't pay myself. I make sure that the bills are paid, make sure that the team is paid, so on and so forth. And so, but there's also, I guess, a difference of opinion in situations like that, or just in terms of how you should go about doing business, is the fact that some say that business owners should ultimately pay themselves first, and then ultimately let, I guess, the chips fall where they may, because that then basically says if you pay yourself first, then wherever you fall short, that's where you need to cut in terms of the expense. So what's your thought on that philosophy?
I've never implemented that philosophy. I have not done it. Just my heart and my ethics will not let me do that.
Yeah.
Now, I've haven't been in a situation where I think I have to cut anyone because of that I could think of. But no, if I need to go out there and drive more income to the organization, all I need is 30 to 60 days.
Yeah.
I believe in myself. I know what I can do. I know what I bring to the table. And sometimes I have to go out there and be the marketer myself and get more clients. So if that is the case, I can go and do that. But no, I don't believe in that method at all.
I agree. And so what are some of the challenges of being, I guess, a business owner or CEO, an entrepreneur, that often are not necessarily like verbally told, or that people, when they say, okay, I want to be a business owner, I want to be an entrepreneur, if this person is just at the top and it's just all sunshine and happiness, and everything is just there's just always trees and bank accounts full of money and everything is just lovely. So, but what are some of the real challenges of being a business owner?
The real challenges, okay. Man, everybody lies, man. Everyone lies. Don't know why. I'm a straightforward guy. Just tell me the truth. I'm going to respect you. Everyone thinks that you're a limited ATM. Limited ATM. Man, one challenge I'm having right now that I still have is giving a lot of individuals opportunities. Just continuing giving them opportunities, believing in them more than they believe in themselves. And it's like, I see it. I see what you have. I see that talent. I see that gift. Man, it's just not involving, And man, that's really bit me in the butt over the last 2 years. That just keep giving opportunity, and boom, just bite me in my freaking butt. That ordeal with that. And another big challenge is duplicating yourself into others, because you tend to forget that you think that someone is going to have the same skill set. They're going to be able to pick it up like you do, and you realize like, whoa, man, I'm really like only like a 2%er or a 5%er. Like, God just really made me different. Can't really explain it. And that's really it. Okay. Yeah.
So a few challenges, I guess, that I'll share. One is I think that kind of going back to the situation we talked about, cash flow.
Yeah.
Payroll, bills. And so, at the end of the day, when you have a business, you don't have the benefit of being able to make excuses.
Yes.
Or to rely upon excuses. So what I mean by that is the fact that, when payroll comes, no one wants to hear, that why you can't meet payroll. So even in the fact that, okay, well, persons that were responsible for, providing care or providing services or going to do certain things.
Wow.
They didn't do what they were supposed to do.
Thank you.
They didn't complete their documentation.
Thank you.
We couldn't bill for those services.
Thank you.
And so now we don't have the ability to bill, which is going to impact the cash flow and the revenue that's going to come in a timely manner to meet the payroll. But we don't have that luxury to say, now we have to deal with those situations in terms of accountability, making sure that in those situations that transpire, they're held accountable. But still, based upon that action, the result is the fact that now we have limited resources to be able to meet the payroll. And you still have to be able to meet the payroll. So I think that, many times there's things that happen as a business owner that oftentimes are never communicated, that are never told as they shouldn't be, but yet you have to make sure that everything happens at the end of the day.
And when that happens, that scenario right there, that's when you implement contracts, policy procedures to protect yourself at all times.
Correct.
And you educate them, let them read it. But for some reason, they still don't read it. And they totally forget about it. Yeah. So I've been in that predicament before.
Yeah.
That's something that wasn't, verbally communicated to me. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think making tough calls and making tough decisions is a part of it. So I don't think most people want to be. I don't know if the right word is confrontational, but being able to be honest and transparent about what needs to be improved or what's not being done, and being able to call those things out.
Yes.
To hold people or team members accountable, and being in leadership, you have to be willing to make the tough call, which is not always the easy thing to do, because you may like this person in terms of you think they're a good person, you understand they have a family, you understand certain things that hey they're depending on this job to take care of their kids, to put them through school, to meet the mortgage, so on and so forth. But if we've kind of gone through the cycle of progressive accountability and or disciplinary action, and certain things aren't ultimately happening consistently, even though there may be great potential, you've got to be willing to make the tough call and to ultimately transition or to terminate that individual person, because as long as that person remains and continues to perform subpar, then it's impacting everything.
Everything.
And everyone.
And it's creating a culture.
There you go.
That can spread like a disease or like a wildfire throughout the organization. Well, okay, he's letting her do this or him, so I'm going to do it as well. Even they may not dare say anything to me. So, yeah, I know exactly what you're referring to. I know exactly.
Yeah. So, in being, a business owner, the challenge is ultimately, at the end of the day, 100% responsibility.
Yes.
Falls on you. Period. So when certain things happen in terms of situations, whether it's an unexpected bill, whether it's an audit, whether it's a lawsuit, whether it's whatever it may be, you're 100% responsible for how you're going to react and respond appropriately to the situation to continue to be able to continue your business and to be able to continue to meet the bills, meet the needs of the operation, regardless of what's happening.
What's happening?
Regardless.
That's correct, and that's one ordeal. That took me some time to actually to accept. I remember one of the first incidents I ever had some years ago with an individual, and a lawsuit came, and I'm like, whoa, where did this come from? Really? I mean, help you get a vehicle, etc., etc. And because you weren't taking care of things on your end, you know, and I can tell you that really hurts. That really sucks. That's one of the most hurting, you know, things in the world when you put yourself on the line for an individual.
Yes.
And they play the victim in a situation.
Yeah.
You know, I can't describe that. It's very hurting, and but it's just part of the culture, part of the what we deal with in this world. So it just comes with being a business owner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, so another challenge, kind of hitting on what you said, it's being willing to do what's necessary for the good, or for the greater good of the organization,
Yes.
for the team. And as a result, sometimes that can also cause you to be, you can say, I guess, disliked or disapproved or critiqued or whatever it may be. So, you know, you're always going to be as well, you know, critiqued based upon, you know, every decision that you ultimately make. Being in position of, you know, ownership is the fact that, you know, everyone always has a better opinion or a way of how things should be, could be. You know, if I was whatever, then X, Y, and Z, so on and so forth.
But you're not.
So,
you know, you're not.
So you gotta have, you know, tough skin, and that kind of goes back to, you have to be intentional about, you know, what the mission is, and understand that, you know, sometimes, you know, doing what's necessary to create growth, it requires as well some level of being uncomfortable in creating that. So, you know, if you go to the gym, or if you want to lose weight, or you want to you know, grow in certain areas, you know, growth is never necessarily easy. It requires becoming uncomfortable. I can't just go to the gym and just do what I want to do and not push myself to ultimately create, you know, the results that I ultimately want for my body, for my health, so on and so forth. If I want to lose weight, I've got to do certain things that are not comfortable. I've got to, you know, be disciplined enough to stop eating this or start eating this, so on and so on and so forth. And the same thing happens, you know, in an organization, is the fact that in creating growth, it's not always easy.
Yes.
And sometimes people have to become uncomfortable, but it's what's best for them and for the team and for the organization, but it requires them to maybe do something they've never done before.
Yes, that is right, yeah.
And not everyone will ultimately see it that way all the time.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it becomes the victim.
Yeah, victim mindset.
Yeah.
One last story. Some time ago, I had an individual had this wonderful idea. Brought it to me in my organization. I mean, it was great. They was like, hey, I can't do A, B, and C, and D. I'm like, great, I can do it for you. I will set it up for you. Let's get it in motion. Got everything together, set it up. Because let me tell you, I like to promote in my organization.
Okay.
I don't mind. But no deal. Look, if you got an idea or you want to become a business owner, man, look, spray your wings. We need more out here.
Right,
Go change your generation. I've never held anybody back. Position this individual to do that great thing. And it was something that came about. It's called WORK. Work. And realized how much work was going to be involved, and I wasn't going to do everything, you know. But I position you and have you all set up. Then the victim mentality came along, and then these other things came along. I'm like, whoa. You know, all because a little pressure got upon you.
Right.
And man, it frustrates me because I see so many individuals that have 10 times more opportunities than I ever had in my life.
And talent, yeah.
And talent. Opportunities that come in their face, and they just clearly don't see it. Well, I don't get this. This never comes my way. This never go nowhere. I'm like, huh? You just missed this. You had that. Over here. What about this? Oh, well, and everything's an excuse. So
both have an objective, and so they're both gonna, you know, ultimately get whatever it is that they ultimately desire. So a vulture is ultimately looking for things that are dead and not alive. And so a vulture will ultimately, they will fly over living animals, living things, with the focus on identifying what's dead.
Yes. Wow.
And they get what they're seeking.
Wow.
And then a hummingbird, well, they will fly over the dead things, and they will be focused in on life and what's living.
Yes.
And so, whether you are the vulture, or the hummingbird, whatever, you focus in on, that's what you're ultimately going to get. So,
Yes.
if you're a vulture, you can be overlooking all of the good opportunities that ultimately are right there, but because you're so, focused in on the negative,
Man.
then you don't even see it.
Like, what's another amazing thing, like, for business owners, this is what I like to share. Like, it might not happen in 1 year. It may not happen in 2 years. I've been an entrepreneur since 2006, okay? 2006. And I didn't get clarity until 2013.
Okay.
Okay? There are some things that happened. I made money, lost money. Like I said, a school of hard knocks. It took me to lose money 3 times to educate myself about finances. I didn't come from that background. I didn't have really individuals in my circle to educate me about funds. But learning from experiencing, reading Dave Ramsey. Okay, at some point, implementing that. I implement probably 80% of his things, not all of them.
All right, I got it.
Some of us are just overboard. Like, whoa, like, Dave, you tripping. I love you, but you're tripping. But it's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
Like, in most cases, it's going to happen when God thinks you're ready for it.
Oh.
Just think about, 2006, somebody would have gave me $3 million. Man, I would have went nuts. Okay? Nuts. I wasn't ready for that. If they would have gave me $100,000 in 2006, I would have went nuts. So, it's all about timing and developing yourself and being prepared and ready for what's coming. And when it comes, practice humility, because it really can turn you into what you really are.
That's a word. That's a word.
Yeah.
So, are you truly, as well, can you handle, are you prepared for the success, or prepared for the breakthrough,
Yes.
That you desire? And so if and when you get it, does that ultimately allow you to make other people's lives better?
Yes.
Does it allow you to ultimately give glory to God?
That's true.
Does it ultimately allow you to honor Him? Or do you take that blessing, if you get it right now and you're not ready, that thing that was meant to bless you will ultimately, it'll curse you. It'll harm you because of the fact that you're not prepared for it. So you mentioned, if you got $3 million in 2006 or whenever it was, that might have turned you away from ultimately seeking and relying upon God, seeking, wisdom and guidance on, bettering oneself, holistically.
Yes.
So it's that was a word.
Yes.
That was a word.
Most definitely.
That was a word. So two last things, and then we'll wrap up this discussion. Do you think there's a difference between being an entrepreneur and a CEO?
Most definitely. Entrepreneurs build businesses. A CEO runs a business. CEO, one. Entrepreneur, several. Unlimited tapped. So, and that's I see that a lot with a lot of businesses. I see a lot of individuals walk around with CEO in their shirt, which I don't blame. You should never do anything like that. It's just my opinion. Do whatever you want. But the mindset that you have to have as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
We discussed earlier, not having your eggs in one basket. It needs to be several. Entrepreneur mindset. which is diverse, several multiple streams, growing, consistently doing things to educate yourself, consistently doing things to educate your staff, consistently doing other things and locating opportunities that are not in your main field. Entrepreneurs is unlimited income, unlimited taps, like I said earlier. But a CEO runs a business. That's it. So you have the decision to either be one or the other. I suggest you be an entrepreneur.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll take that, and I think that you can ultimately be both. But I don't think that just because you're one, that automatically makes you the other. So as you mentioned, an entrepreneur, their role, what they do is they ultimately they go create, the vision. They go create opportunities.
Yes.
They go start, projects. They start an entity. They see a need, they see an opportunity, and they go after it. They go get it. They get it started.
Yeah.
But being a CEO is being able to then be aware and focus in on the job now.
That's true.
The current business now. And being able to run and grow that particular business effectively, efficiently, to create sustainable profitability. And just because you're an entrepreneur doesn't make you a great CEO. And just because you're a great CEO doesn't mean that you can also go out and go create these opportunities. Now, you can manage the opportunity that's been established by the entrepreneur, but can you also go out and go create what needs to be created for the future, for success? So I think that
that's true what you're saying. So I'm thinking about me coming up. I actually became a CEO, and that actually led me to skill set, the experiences, learning the ins and outs of the business. Actually helped me become an entrepreneur.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I just thought about that. So
So, my challenge, to us all, for those that are in business, those that aspire to be in business, is to be both, an entrepreneur and a CEO. And if not, then ultimately identifying, what your role is, what you're good at, and then identifying the proper talent, resources to ultimately put in place to then play whatever role needs to be played.
Yes.
So if I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a go-getter, I like people, I like going X, Y, and Z, but I don't feel that I'm best as being the CEO. It's okay to position someone else to be the CEO of that company, because it's not about, if the goal of the business is to create a sustainable return on investment, it really doesn't matter, technically, if you're the owner, it doesn't matter if you're the owner and not the CEO, I should say, it doesn't really matter, who's running the business.